Okay. Good morning, everybody. Selamat pagi. Hello.
Selamat pagi.
How's
Good
everybody
morning.
today?
Hi, Alberto.
Fine, thank you.
That's good. Okay.
We're sleepy still.
Sleepy?
Yes.
Why are you sleepy?
5 a.m.
Have you been laughing too much?
The thing is, like, the course finishes and I go to work until 9 p.m.
Oh
and
dear.
then
Okay.
yeah, it's very tense, but it's okay because it's like it's peaceful, the course.
Oh, good. Yeah. Take this course as if like it's a form of entertainment. So instead of watching Netflix, you get onto this course and you get
I
and you
think I'm the only one in the world who doesn't have Netflix. I
That's okay.
never subscribe. I never because I don't have time to watch.
So
Hola
I'm the
Concepcion.
yeah. So I'm the second person
Hi.
because I don't have it either.
Ah, that's good. Join.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
I'm the third
Me
one.
too.
Oh, it's third.
Me
So
too.
dating is third, and soon we will have quite a number. The ones who are silent, most likely they are, watching
Watching.
Netflix at the moment. And
Definitely.
Conchita, are you a Netflix enthusiast?
Yes. I I like a lot of movies.
Yes,
Yes.
that's fine.
I
Okay,
don't even know what it is.
Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter keeps recommending that I should watch XYZ on Netflix, and she even
Yeah.
got got the accounts for me, but I don't, well, I was going to say I don't have the time, but it's a choice of whether sitting down watching a movie or spending time in the garden, and I picked the latter.
Exactly.
So
Yes, definitely.
yeah, I think by now you would have realized that there are so many things. I'm sort of talking about my own personality, but this connection with nature is very important to me.
Yes.
Okay, I have a few announcements to make, which I shall repeat in the afternoon session because we have a number of participants who come in the afternoon because of time difference, and several of you attend in the morning and then listen to the to the recording in the afternoon. So the first announcement is to do with the reflective paper. So once again, if you have a read of the details that were provided in my class about the reflective paper, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to raise them into the secretariat, and they will inform us of the questions that you might have. There was one question in regard to when do you submit. So we have the deadline is 1 week after the end of this course. So you still have about a week to sit down and polish whatever that you have jotted down. So the understanding is that by now you would have in fact done a good part of almost like 2/3 or even more of the reflective paper, because if you're going to write like 200 words each day, then by now you would have had quite a bit to jot down. And then tomorrow, once again, the other announcement is that in the second part of the presentation with Idam and I, we will, instead of me speaking, we will invite participants to contribute by presenting case studies or examples of conflict transformation, drawing from your own tradition and culture. So like Conchita, you are from Mexico, and I know that you have worked a great deal, or you have a tremendous interest in indigenous peoples. So there could be something that you might be, you can draw, from the Mexican indigenous examples of conflict transformation. And who else do we have? Maybe Ayat from Jordan, if there are some examples. Neha and
Okay.
Nidhi from India, from your own particular cultures. Who else do we have? And Irma, sorry. Irma, you're there? And Irma, I am assuming that you are from Sabah, and so there might be some examples there for you. Dilavar from Islamabad, from your own case studies. Sarah from Spain. Toshi, I'm assuming from your name that you are Japanese background, so there could be some Japanese forms. Even if you're interested in Ainu, for example, there could be, cases of Ainu forms of conflict transformation. Ayla, from your, from your Malay perspective, and not just Malay, but I'm not sure what your own Malay background is, whether you're from Selangor or from Malacca, or I don't think you are from Kelantan, judging from the name, but, from any sort of background. Yeah, so do you get and John Fong from Penang, maybe Chinese, maybe Confucian, maybe Taoist, about, your own traditional. And hopefully it will be a very kind of vibrant discussion tomorrow. And I know some of you would not be able to make it because of time difference. And if you want to present something, then one of your fellow course-mates to present something on your behalf. And Roji, you are from Manipur, right?
Yes, Professor.
And are you any particular? Sorry, this is the occupational hazard of being an anthropologist. Do you belong to any sort of tribal group in that region?
Alberto, I belong to a community called Meitei, which is the dominant community in Manipur, and yet it's not considered under tribal group, but
it's cultural,
but it's cultural thing. So it has been in clashes with so many tribes in Manipur residing in it because they feel that our community dominates over them, and I think it's a common thing happening in minority groups. So it's a clashes between the communities and tribal.
That's great, and I'm familiar with the part of that world in India, but my familiarity is mostly focused on the various tribal communities in that area. Okay, good. So do you have any questions before we proceed in today's discussion?
Professor, I have a question on the presentation regarding on this idea which fellow participants have to present for 5 minutes. So in that presentation, are we going to present the PPT format, or it's just a verbal presentation?
It's entirely up to you. It can be, if you want to have a PPT, but the only problem with that is sometimes with the connection, it might take 5 minutes to get the slide screen to work. So you've got to work out ways of how perhaps we can the secretariat can assist you in that, to send a PPT to them. So I was going to. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
It will be better if we do only the verbal without any presentation, because it will take lots of time and we have lots of participants also.
Yeah, so we have, for that reason, we have to keep to 5 minutes. I wish I could provide you with a lot more time, but we will allocate 5 minutes for each one of you. And the details of that will be provided tomorrow. So tomorrow the Secretariat will provide you with details. So I just can very briefly say to you that what's going to happen is that each one of you will be given, you'll be given a link to a Google form where you will list, and we will also work out, today, we most likely will go alphabetically. I think that would be the most sensible way to go through the whole list. One of you, present your 5 minutes, and the other, so it will be something like, those TV programs where they have, what do you call that?
Keep timer.
It's like the European Song Contest, for example, or whatever, one of those TV programs where, you have someone presenting and then people will record the points, as it were. So each participant will be given this Google form where you have, let's say Conchita makes a presentation of 5 minutes, and then very quickly you just record a number from 1 to 10. And I really hope that none of you would record 1 to any one of you.
Yeah.
So we and what we will do is at the end we will total the marks, and the Secretariat will also be involved in that, and we will do some sort of moderation if for example there's someone that ends up with a very low sort of very low points, we will do some moderating. So the whole idea is that the way it works in this course is, and this is my pedagogical sort of method. I always say that, and the other thing I should probably, before I say this, to qualify my statements, this is one of the worst parts of my job. I just don't like assessing people. So if I can get a chance, I'll give everyone 100%. So that's me as a person. But universities, unfortunately, don't want professors to give everyone top marks. So implicit in that, they have this idea of competition. But in my way of thinking is that the competition is not between, say, Koji and John. It's not that way. Okay, we do not. It's each one will be competing with yourself. So in other words, it is really you. This is your project. You do the best that you want, and then don't worry about what others think of it. So this is the pedagogical principles that we abide by, and everyone actually begins with a 0, and then as you go up, you reach the top. So in my classes, many students end up with 10 out of 10 because they've started with 0, and it is their own. You be the judge, and you self-assess, and how you go, from step by step. And I know this very well is because every time I make a presentation, I end up giving a very low mark to myself. So this is, but it helps me because I know that once I've done very poorly in my own presentation, then I know the next presentation I make, then I try to rectify the mistakes that I've made in the previous one. Okay, so I will never ever be satisfied with what I present, and this is because it's my own personality. But I want all of you to have fun, enjoy. Learning should not be a bore. It should not be it should not be drudgerous. It should not be monotonous. It should be fun, entertaining, and we have worked I would say intentionally, purposefully, to create this kind of situation in this course of all of you getting together and sharing, and also building this kind of rapport with one another. So this has been our conscious and intention to try to build some kind of relationships that all of you have, I think, have developed very good, friendly, and supportive relations with one another. And we hope that this continues. Okay, now it gives me great pleasure, as I say every day, whenever I'm introducing presenters, to introduce today's speakers or today's presenters. Now, I have had the pleasure of meeting both Bu Prisca, Dr. Prisca, as well as Dr. Nuryanti, who I refer to as Bu Yanti, and we met up in Jakarta, and we had Bu Yanti invited me to give a talk at LIPI, and she will say a bit more about that. And I was paired off in this talk with Bu Prisca, who I really admired what she had presented and was greatly inspired. So I'm so pleased that the two of them have agreed to present to us, to provide their own, sort of case studies on Indonesian peace building and conflict transformation. And Bu Yanti is, in fact, at the moment, she is in Illinois. And so she is way, away from her home in Jakarta. And it's what, 9 o'clock in the evening?
Yes, 9:15.
Okay, wonderful. So this is, Zoom for you. We have our speakers from different parts, but Bu Yanti is actually from Jakarta. So I won't take any more time. It's all yours, the two of you, Bu Prisca and Bu Yanti. And thank you so much once again. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih banyak Pak Alberto. So it is really an honor for both of us to be involved in this course. So both of us is very happy. So even though one in the US and one in Jakarta here, so we try to make this this station got a solid, and despite of differences of time and then our difficulties in the communication as well. So I believe that we hope that what we are offering here in this station will be the benefit of us all. Okay. Thank you. Silakan Bu Yanti.
Good morning, everyone, or good, maybe someone in the other part of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night from me. I'm now currently at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So now it's 9:20. I'm from Indonesia, and I'm working as researcher at the Indonesian Institute of Sciences, or LIPI. Prof. Alberto just mentions about LIPI, and LIPI stands for the Indonesian Institute of Sciences. I'm also the Secretary General of APRA, Asia Pacific Peace Research Association, and still executive councils of IPRA, International Peace Research Association. So it is really an honor for me too to join with this very important session, important people, important meeting. But I'm so sorry because I could not join the session, almost all of session because of time difference. I just attend the opening, but Prof. Alberto just mentioned that you have a recording the session. So I think it will also give us another benefit. We can replace Netflix with watching the recording. So without further ado, I would like to ask Ibu Prisca to start first, and then later on I can just jump into the conversation. Please, Ibu Prisca. You still mute.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I'm already unmute myself. So, terima kasih, Ibu Yanti. Please call me Prisca, everybody. So, I'd like to, usually people just call me Prisca, or usually in here in Indonesia, you can call me Mbak Prisca or Kak Prisca or similar to that. So, I really, address as Ibu. Because in my work in the Jakarta Institute of the Arts, I'm still a lecturer there. So people just address each other as casually as Mbak or Kak, similar things like that. So I'm working as an academician there and in the Jakarta Institute of the Arts, but I also a researcher and also the consultant in the John Hopkins University Center for Communication Program here in Jakarta. So I involve a lot currently with the COVID issues. So I hope that nobody here in this meeting got a lot of impacts from the current pandemic. So let's start with the session now. Okay, could you please, Mas Idam, if you please share the PPT? So we decided, sorry?
Yeah, it's already on.
All right, thank you. Thanks a lot. Because I'm worried because otherwise I will get not so good this morning. So we decided to make it not only about the peace building itself, but we also like to include the conflict prevention framework and also talk a little bit about the conflict resolutions in Indonesian cases. So probably we can get the similar thing in around the world, because I believe many of you working in the field and have experiences some sort of conflict as well, and how we can deal with it. So I'd like to start with the peace building, because peace building can be defined in many different ways. But in Indonesia, often, and also in the world, often peace building is only limited to the post-conflict treatment. So we got conflict, and then after the peacekeeping finish, we have to start with the peace building and how to make it more peaceful conditions in place. So but we believe that peace building itself can include the conflict prevention, how we can do the conflict management, the conflict transformation, conflict resolution and transformation, and also the post-conflict reconciliation. This is the most important part, I believe, because in Indonesia itself, the post-conflict reconciliations, it takes years to make it better, and then we can see around the world that post-conflict reconciliation is sometimes very hard to do. Well, how about the peace building itself? Is it whether we make it like is it the right activities we do or not? That's well, that's often, we are often very confused with that as well, because the root of conflicts is it's very difficult for us, because somehow probably the root of conflict is often neglected as well. And even in Indonesia, the peace building in Indonesia sometimes is it's very difficult to define what is actually the root of the conflict. So here in this session, we try to explain it to you and to present it to you how we can address the root of the cause of violent conflict, and also the eliciting the indigenous capacities for the peaceful management and resolution, and how to create, the peace buildings better in the multicultural conditions in Indonesia. So we are going to let you take a glimpse of 4 cases in Indonesia, that is in Poso, Ambon, Papua, and of course Aceh, that you probably know about that. So and hopefully that we can, we can share with one another later on, and probably with the cases around the world as well. So it's the pandemic situation. We will have to touch a little bit on that. So what is the impact of the pandemic in the peace building, and how we can make the future expedition in creating the positive peace, not only in Indonesia, but also in the world. Okay, can we have the next slide, please? The other one, the next one, please. Yeah. I'd like to start that we use this classical approach from Johan Galtung. So what is peace buildings mean? So, well, during my course as the, in my peace studies course, we always treat the, like, Johan Galtung's is like a kind of, the statement of the prophet. So, but in the way, there are some development of what his statements was. So here, he said that peace building is an endeavor aiming to create sustainable peace by addressing the root causes of the violent conflict and eliciting the indigenous capacities for peaceful and management and resolution of conflict. What John Galtung loved to address is that what have to in the structure itself. So the structural thing is very important for him. But in the development, the next one, please. In the next slide, yes, we come across with what the John Paul Readers said, that peace building is not only addressing the structural causes, the structural level, but also the process itself. But how we are going to building the peace, and what kind of framework that we can use, what kind of sustainable transformation that that make it into more transformative way to positive, how we can cultivate the infrastructure for peace building. So, and it also enriched by the UN initiative, because like in the post-conflict peace building, usually it is an action to identify and to support structures which will tend to strengthen and solidify peace in order to avoid the condition and to make it relapse into conflict or another conflict. So rebuilding the institutions and infrastructure of the nations, because this is in the UN terminology, is very important for the peace building. Well, this belief is also adopted by Indonesian, especially in Indonesian government. So we tend only limited the peace building only to the violent conflict. But how you define the violent conflict itself is, everybody can, whether it have like lots of fatalities or lots of casualties, but whether it have affecting your life in the long run. So this kind of is this debate is always going on. So in Indonesia itself, the peace building initiative, it was very, it was initiated by our former President Yudhoyono, but it's sadly it's rather relapsed after the 2018, if I'm not mistaken, because due of many things and many political background. But the peace building is not really, create more stress rather than the peacekeeping, because we have peacekeeping troops in Indonesia. So I believe that I should ask you to move to the sixth slide, Mas Idam. I'm sorry about that. Could you please move to the sixth slide, please? So I believe that peace building is more into the approaches that we can address into more of the basic needs of the human. So it is have to address more to the when we need to create the sustainable peace to ensure sustainable peace, we cannot only address only at the end of the conflict itself, but we also have to touch the human rights, the civil society, or probably the rural development, not only the urban development, and it is have more concern on the human security, because ensuring the protection and the empowerment of the individuals or the members of the community at all states is also important in creating a sustainable peace. So in this case, not only the individual, not only the government, but I believe also the community groups that also working to help each other is very important to create the more sustainable peace. So we come across the next slide, please. This strategic peace building from the Kroc Institute for International Peace Study. I suggest you to look at it, and how the strategic peace building is the the development of constructive personal groups and political relationships across the the ethnic, religious, class, national, and also racial boundaries. So this is what John got to mention. We have to touch about the structural things first, and then and also what the later on said that we have to create more processes into more building the peace infrastructure, how we can deal with the conflict prevention, the conflict management, and conflict resolution. So if you can see, I'm not sure whether you can see in this. It's probably is quite small, but there are many things that have to be dealt with. About the law, about the restorative justice in the process, yeah, and the and the trauma healing, and then humanitarian actions, and the government and multilateral efforts, also the non-violent social change, and education and development. So I believe this is quite common, and everyone is should look about this. So how about the debates in the peace building in Indonesia, whether we are only stick about the structural level or also into the processing level. So while in Indonesia, sometimes the peace building on, as I said before, it's only limited to the post-conflict situation, but the time frame sometimes is not enough to address the root of conflict itself. So probably it is one of the reasons why the conflicts keeps going on and on and on, and then or changing to another conflict. So if we can see later on. Okay, so what I believe that peace building is very important to sustainable peace, because otherwise if we can just leave it like that, so we cannot make the prospect of sustainable peace is quite far away. So there are quite a number of roots of conflict in Indonesia. I believe that Dr. Yanti will explain about it now. Please, Bu Yanti.
Hang on. Just to continue what Ibu Prisca already mentioned, that we acknowledge that there are 7 roots of conflict in Indonesia. First of all is distortions of public policy. Second one is on bureaucratic pathology. Third one, conflict over economic resources. Fourth is on socio-economic disparity. and then unresolved issues on identity, customary laws and culture, distorted legal justice, and the dysfunctions of security forces. On distortions of public policy, for example, when the government actually already implement, like for example, this time during pandemic, actually the government already asked people to wear masks, but some people do not obey to wear masks in the public space. On bureaucratic pathology, for instance, when the government supposed to react on conflict resolution without having burden on bureaucratic formality, but in this case, in the Indonesian government, sometimes still having bureaucratic formalities, and some of the bureaucracy already has kind of a corrupt how to say, not really corrupt in a way, they corrupt in a way they treat the case to make it fit with the bureaucratic formality, but not to make it quick. There are sometimes the conflict is going on, and we have to keep waiting because of bureaucratic is not really solved. And then conflict over economic resources, we can see in many places that some of economic resources becoming abundance object of where people grab something, and then it creates conflict. And on economic disparity and other issues that I put it here, actually, this is a kind of combination where the 7 root of conflict in Indonesia is actually a study found by the team in my institution in LIPI, that they formulate this, that there are 7 roots of conflict in Indonesia that basically divided into 7. And then on general situations, I would like to mention that in Indonesia, conflict is on because of there was no systematic conflict management. And then there are a lot of tendency that strong state intervention is happening, but lack of people participation. And during New Order government, this is actually prior to 98, but the effect is still on. The New Order government approach to conflict, usually they uses repression for security reasons, and sometimes is still going on. And we also have a tendency that the allocation resources is centralized. Therefore, conflict management is held by certain institution, and local government lack of the initiative. Next one, I would like to mention that CPF is Conflict Prevention Framework, is the paper that formulated by the team in my institution in LIPI, in the Indonesian Institute of Sciences. Our team mentioned that we need to create a conflict prevention framework because of at least 4 reasons. First is we required a paradigmatic change. So management of social conflict regulated under law number 7, 2013, focuses on treatment, not prevention. Therefore, method of conflict management are not formulated properly, and conflict is treated case-by-case basis or more on personal treatment. And it used to be there is uncomprehensive perspective. Therefore, I think with this conflict prevention framework, we offer them, and also we ask the government to have a comprehensive perspective. And then the third, institution in charge we do have what we call Kesbangpol is the political section within the government. FKUB is the Forum Komunikasi Umat Beragama, so interfaith forum. And then Komunitas Intelijen Daerah is the local government intelligence. And Badan Koordinasi Pengawas Aliran Kepercayaan is actually the one, the institution that have the role to oversee the faith. They do not have clear conceptions in terms of combating the conflict or preventing the conflict. Therefore, they work by their own. And in this case, we need to have kind of conceptual guidance that make them go in line, go at once. So I aim at one single purpose. The fourth one, the existing structure are fragmented because of ego sectoral, maybe because of we do not have a certain clear mechanism. Therefore, we have a messy mechanism, and everything is treated based on case by case and instant base. And we do have a lack of resources, no synergy between coordinating ministry and ministries, and also with the local government representation. Therefore, the team in my institution saying that we decide to have a conflict prevention framework. Next one, the conflict prevention framework has goals. We try to detect the structural problems that led to conflict. We also try to fix this problem to end conflict and prevent them from reoccurring. The third one, to change the institutional bureaucracy. In this case, we have to talk about structure. We are maybe well known, we have a long structure, we have mechanism and modalities that fit with the long bureaucratical thing rather than the effective way of bureaucracy. And therefore, we try to have 3 steps of how to change the bureaucracy culture. We have a short term, medium term, and long term. And in this conflict prevention framework, we try to periodically monitor the social change and the impact on the structural change that enable conflict. So to continue on, I would like to mention that there are basic principles of conflict prevention framework in relation to the 7 roots of the conflict that I already mentioned earlier. On the issue of distortion public policy and bureaucratic pathology, we would like to aim that we have improved good governance. In example, political and administrative institutional reform. We would like to have a devolution of power or power sharing in politics and government. We would like to have meritocracy and professionalism of the bureaucracy. We also would like to impose on the issue of conflict over economic resources and socioeconomic disparity. We would like to reduce development disparity by the implementations of affirmative policies and expanding access to resources. We would like to have integrative, equitable, and sustainable management of natural resources, including synergy of resource management policy between central and local government. as well as affirmative approach to open access to the natural resources. You know, during the time when we have the conflict, sometimes we do not have easy access towards the how to mitigate conflict. Therefore, in this conflict prevention framework, we put the some basic principles that have to be obeyed by the government. Next, on basic principles on the issue of identity, customary laws, and culture, we would like to develop a culture policy that respects diversity. For example, build socio-political mechanism to manage diversity and ensure the state protections over diverse function. As you may know already that Indonesia is very diverse country. I think in your country also have a diversity like what we have, but in Indonesia it's very tremendous diversity that exists. We do have more than 1,000 languages speak. We do have ethnicities and several religions, several groups of religion that everything has their own perspective. Therefore, I think in the issue on identity, customary law, and culture, we really do need to develop the culture policy that respect the diversity that exists. On the issue of a distorted legal justice, we try to create synergy between informal justice mechanism in the society and the formal state judiciary system. Therefore, in example, we put repositioning of legal sources and institutional and expanding access to legal justice. On the issue of the dysfunctional of security forces, we try to formulate regulation on security management system that encourage professionalism of the security forces by finalizing defense and security sector reform and clarifying role of engagement of security actors for conflict management. And in this case, as Ibu Prisca mentioned earlier, that we do need public participation in conflict prevention. On the institution of conflict prevention framework, we try to put the institutionalizing conflict prevention by determining leading sectors and increasing the capacity of existing institutions. And we also put roles and responsibility of the institution for multi-level conflict prevention. Sometimes conflict is not on one layer. Therefore, we do need to have everyone responsible and playing their role at their best to have prevention of the conflict reoccurring. And we do need to have coordination framework for conflict prevention. We do need to have multi-level coordination center and coordination among various institutions in the society and among government agencies as well as the media. Therefore, I think to have this would be impossible if there is no certain framework that acknowledges the diversity, the ego-sectoral, and the difference role, that if they could hand in hand get together, I think they can solve the conflict. On conflict management, on knowledge management, we do ask people to talk about and refer to what handbook for conflict prevention framework, mapping the capacity of institutions and conflict prevention work. We also try to ask people to map efforts that undertaking by the executive apparatus. So to deepen the knowledge on what was on peace building process, I would like to ask Ibu Prisca to continue first. Bu.
All right. Probably before we continue into the cases, probably if there are any comments or questions first from the participants.
Everything is clear for me.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, well, in the case that we are going to move to the cases, we'd like to give you probably its foremost well-known peacebuilding process in Indonesia. It is in Aceh and also in Poso. The other one in Ambon, and the other one is in Papua. As you probably know, the Aceh conflict is probably one of the longest run conflict here in Indonesia. It's already about it's run about 30 years, and it's end up by the tsunami of Aceh. So some people will say that the tsunami is also the blessing in disguise, but sadly to the victim of the tsunami, but it does in some way ended the Aceh conflict. So and Aceh conflict is ended by the peace accord between the government of Indonesia and the Free Aceh movement, or what often heard here in Indonesia as Gerakan Aceh Merdeka. So it is in the year 2005 and in Helsinki, Finland. And by addressing the process, we have to also look for the root of conflicts, and then who is the actors and how we can mitigate it, as Bu Yanti has already said. And well, the root of conflict, some people believe it is colonialism heritage, and during the New Order era, Aceh is also the military operation area. So many people, well, I think nobody like their area to become the military operation, isn't it? So there also the demand of independence, because some of discrepancies, the local communities believe that Aceh should be better than during the time. So at the end, the former president of Finland, Dr. Martti Ahtisaari, lead the mediation processes. So at the mid of 25, there is some peace accord agreement, and then however, process by peace accord itself, it is only formality, but the current conditions, well, we try to keep the peace and stability there in the Aceh. Thanks God, it's already been restored, and the reconciliation has been developed is mainly because there are some needs of the Aceh people already addresses, like the implementation of Sharia law for the local context, and also the Aceh political party that involved in the. But we still have the homework there, because especially in the capacity building for the Aceh civil administration, and also for the community policing and human rights, because some people still have a little bit uneasy about that, and also the assistance, the civil society groups, how to improve their effectiveness and their contribution to Aceh growing democracy, trade, investment, and also for the job creation. I think it's I believe that it is quite common in Indonesia how to to create more investment and to create more job creations in the local thing. So this is about Aceh, and let's see about the Poso. Well, Poso is in Sulawesi Island, while Aceh in the Sumatra Island is these two are the two biggest island in Indonesia. Poso is believed as a communal conflict, but it is serious while Aceh is also a long-run conflict, the Poso conflict is a kind of series. So we have like, you know, from the 1988 and then it stopped, and then on the year of 2000 it becomes again in April and May and June, and it end up in the December in 2001. This is what we use this Poso conflict is like, it is like proof that when we are not addressing the root of conflict itself, the conflict can move around. So probably it can make another conflict, or it can move to another, you know, creating another conflict that probably different from the first one. So Poso is a classic example where if people don't address the root of conflicts, and it can create, you know, not sustainable peace. So we can say that root of conflict in Poso is unfairness, disparity, and also the Sara is a Sara in Indonesia is quite common if you do the Indonesian studies. It stands for the suku, agama, ras, and antar golongan. So it's suku means ethnicity, religion, agama, and the race, and also the, you know, the community itself. So at the first conflict, actually it involved, you know, the youth group, but it developed into the Muslim and the Christian group. So and then it have enriched by terrorism, and it enriched more about the local election. So the small conflict, and then it become developed into a bigger conflict, and then and during the local election, usually economic discrepancy also one of the most important issues that can create conflict. Why? Because it really dividing, you know, if you have like two different groups in the Poso case, like the old comers and the newcomers, and the Muslims group and the Christian groups, this kind of thing. So it really can build more bigger conflict, or probably dispersed conflict itself. So usually in this case, at the end of the Poso conflict, the actors mentioned is the Muslim and Christian group. Otherwise, although the Poso people itself is often, we don't believe we have this kind of group. So the mediator is our former vice president, is Mr. Yusuf Kala. He is one of our prominent peace mediation, peace negotiation, you know, kind of a good, I mean, a prominent person in peace in Indonesia. So what he do during the Malino Declaration is try to create harmonization between the Muslim and Christian groups, between the old comers and the newcomers, and then try to create more synergy between these two groups. So that is still going on at the moment, but sadly, Central Sulawesi is also affected by you know, many natural disasters. So actually, the peace building should be still going on, but the current condition, what we have here, we still have you know, the women and children of conflict. What I mean by the children of conflict here, women and children of conflict here, because that when the conflicts they have a conflict in Poso, and the security forces come in, and where it can be from the military or from the police, they also create some conflict with the community, and then it resulted with the violating the rights of the woman, and then it creating, you know, the children of conflicts means that the children born out of wedlock, that comes from, you know, the women's sexual violation. So we still have some problem with that. So exactly in many conflict situations, also in Aceh, there are some conditions that we still have, we still see that kind of things, the kind of condition. I mean, and then we still have the segregated living condition, and it creates social disintegration. So probably social disintegration itself is really one of the problem in the conflict situation in Poso and also later on in Ambon. Okay, so our homework for the peace building process in Poso is still creating, more healthier conditions. So the public health is still really poor. We still have lack of nutrition for children. It is among one of the poorest in Indonesia. So we still have the widespread diseases there. Actually, we can say that during this pandemic situation, we are glad because there are some improvement in the health facilities in many local areas in Indonesia. So we still have economic development as well, and then how to reintegration people, because what happened in Poso and also in Ambon, a lot of people come out from their area, and then we have to integrating people into the area to run the economic process itself. So how about in Ambon? Ambon is also similar with Poso. We usually treat it as a Christian and Muslim communities, but in Ambon, there is the signing of the Malino to Accord, peace accord in 13 February 2002, also initiated by Yusuf Kala. This is continuation from the Poso conflict. But also in Ambon itself, if they say it is the religious conflict, the people of Ambon say it is it is not a religious conflict between two religious communities, but it is more into the local politics and the economic instability. So if you mention the conflict in, I think in most of Indonesia people, they usually tends to, this is not the religious. We are happy with each other. We have like this tolerance to each other. So, but this put a label of the religious conflict sometimes make it into more deeper conflict. So it is another problem in Ambon, because at the end, especially the youth, and they're creating the Christian and Muslim militia. So it's like the Islamist Laskar Jihad, for example, for the Muslim, and also the Christian creating something else. So, and when you put a label into the root of conflict, there is the danger that we put it into the deepest conflict. So it's very, very very cautious in this case. But the mitigation, actually what is work in Ambon is the traditional approach of Pelagandong. Pelagandong means it is a traditional belief that you are become a family to each other. So you are actually one group of becoming to the other groups, and then they have to work, and then they have to working together, and then they have to create more respects, things like that. So the current condition, we still have some discursivity, and also, as I mentioned before, we still have to introduce some of the youth, introducing some new skills to the youth, so we can make the economic processes better. So luckily in Ambon, although there is still because of the the segregating the kind of group, the Christian and the Muslim, but through the music, because Ambon, as you probably know, is the city of music. So we kind of use the music, the arts to make together the youth together, and then they can now work together to each other. So it's it's creating more not only creative works within them, but it also creating more closeness to each other. So this kind of using art and using sport, because they also there is some case of using the football groups to gather this different group is also mentioned in the Ambon. When I mean Ambon, it means like the whole Maluku Island. So is the Ambon is also the I mean the city in the North Maluku. So how about in Papua? Now Papua probably got a lot of highlights from all around the world. But recently, the Papua conflicts lead to the spatial autonomy. So it's in 2001, but the spatial autonomy itself also creates another conflict because there are not agreement between the Papuan people. So who to represent them? Recognition to the separatisms that we give more enforcement to for them to create more publication about their job. So for Papua, we try to Indonesian government try to reduce the tendency of the publication itself. So what we have in Papua at the moment is the spatial autonomy. It has become the rules, the law and the regulation. And recently, the criminal groups is also labeled as a terrorist group because they not only talking about the Free Papua, but they also terror the Papua community itself. So it's creates some problems because they burn the schools, they burn the public facilities that actually important for the local people. So to give them more ways toward the development. So, but still, there at the current condition, there are still gaps and discrepancy between the Papua, what we call the Orang Asli Papua or the Aborigines, and the newcomers. But why I put the Aborigines or the Orang Asli Papua here on the quote, because this is probably not all people already realize that even the newcomers that come to Papua, they can get accepted as the Papuan itself, because actually the Papua people is very open. They are very, very open to the newcomers, and then even the newcomers think, especially when they are already born there and grow up there in Papua, they fall in love with Papua, and then their heart is in Papua, so they call themselves Papuan. So it is very common in Indonesia because a lot of people, migrate between islands. So when you label Papuan as already the Papua people that stereotyping the Papua people is not really very, very wise to do that. While the development gap of Papua and West Papua provinces is still quite high, but during the last 2 years, during the pandemic time, actually the economic growth in Papua and West Papua is one of the highest in Indonesia. So this is quite amazing. So, but still, we still have to do the capacity building of Papua and to listen these disparities. So that's about Papua. How about ongoing conflict resolution treatment? This one is probably Ibu Yanti will explain it better than me. Silakan Ibu Yanti.
Okay, on ongoing conflict resolution treatments, actually, at least we can take a note that there are two things. First is on political accommodation. So, for example, the conflict in Aceh was treated by giving a chance for local people to have a local political party in Aceh. This is part of how the Indonesian government trying to giving kind of resolution. The other thing, Prisca already mentioned earlier that in Aceh, we have implementing Sharia law even in local election in Aceh. So by all means that during the time when local election is happening in Aceh, prior to that, and also prior to the national election, all the candidates has to go, for the Muslim candidate has to go for kind of being test able to read Holy Quran. So this is part of how the regulation in Aceh is completely different from the rest of regulation in Indonesia. On the case of Papua, the government trying to give a role to MRP. MRP is Majelis Rakyat Papua. So basically the Papuan Council to active in a role in playing their role during the time when they have to select the local government. So during the time prior to the elections of the local government, the MRP or Papuan Council, they have to I mean, the application has to go to them, and then they decide which one is the aborigin, as Ibu Prisca mentioned, or we call it Putra Daerah. Putra Daerah is aborigines actually, the original that they have the Papuan blood. So if they are not determined by Papuan, that the person is not having a Papuan blood, then they will going to be rejected. So this is something that, you know, kind of giving a special regulation towards Aceh and also towards Papua. But in Papua, the government do not give the Papua to have local party up to nowadays. The second thing that the government is trying is giving special attention towards the problems in the conflict area, such as building and making a lot of improvement in infrastructure, and the government also gives special budget allocation to Papua and Aceh. So the Papua and Aceh, they have their own local autonomy, they have their own budget, autonomy budget that they can allocate to build Papua or to build Aceh. Next is on political thing. As I said earlier, that this is the examples of 2019, the local political party contested during the time when Indonesia has the 2019 election, and on below the number of local political party, this is the pictures when the candidate has been tested to be able to read Holy Quran. And on the right hand side, this is the during the time when the campaign is happening. Only in Aceh, they have a local political party. Therefore, only in Aceh, you can find this kind of situation. In other region, you only have the flags, the national political party flags, not the local party flags. Next, on Papua, as I said, they have Majelis Rakyat Papua, definitely Papuan Council, therefore, the one of the role of Papuan Council is to determine whether this person is actually pribumi, is actually putra daerah, is actually aborigin, so Papuan aborigin sana. On the underneath the Majelis Rakyat Papua, actually this is the picture when people actually trying to protest, when the candidate of regency is indicated that he or she is not a Papuan origin. On the right hand side, this is only happening in Papua. The government still allow that they have local mechanism where really fully traditional one. This is noken. Noken is the name of the bag. This is the bag where actually the people can put the ballot paper into that bag. So during the time when election is happening, though in Papua they have ballot box, but they not using ballot box, but they using this one, noken. So by having this is also part of how government trying to embrace the culturally difference that exists in especially in Aceh and also in Papua. So this is a part of the thing that I would like to mention. Bu Prisca, you could continue.
Okay, I got a reminder from Mas Idam that we have 10 minutes into the break, so I just chat to Mas Idam whether we can finish it first or we have to continue later on.
I think we can ask the participant, Bu, probably.
All right, okay. Probably we, how about the participant whether we, because we still have just a little bit more and then we can take a break, or you want to just let us finish this first, so that's up to you.
If I may suggest, I think we can finish it first, a quick one.
All right, okay, thank you. All right, so I'd like to move a little bit from the violence conflict into the current condition of Indonesia. If you kindly put on the video. Anybody here is on TikTok? Anybody use TikTok here for the participants? So in TikTok, there is "Welcome to Indonesia" song. Is one of the virus one. So I'd like us to listen to it. It's only 30 seconds. So can you put it on, Mas Idam, or somebody in the secretariat?
Sure. Mbak Luna, can you stop screen first, please?
No sound? No sound? I believe that we have to listen on the young generation, because I work a lot with the young generation. So this is one of the voice that we probably have to listen on. So and you can decide it yourself after listen to the song whether do we still need the peacebuilding process or not. Can we
Yeah, Bu, hang on, Bu.
Otherwise I can share my screen.
Sure, hang on. I think.
Welcome to Indonesia, have a look around. Her stupidity is the culture of the town. We are all for diversity, so please don't worry. But if you're minority, oh, please shut up, baby. Welcome to Indonesia, we
Oh, you don't have the video, right? You only have got the sound. Eh?
You don't see the sound?
Yes,
You don't see the video?
It was a video.
No.
It was a video though.
There was no video there.
Oh, probably I can
Just
try.
the sound.
I can share to. I can try to
Okay.
share. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear the sound.
Okay, yeah. Just try. Is the sound already right?
Welcome to Indonesia, have a look around. Her stupidity is the culture of the town. We are all for diversity, so please don't worry. But if you're a minority, please shut up, baby. Welcome to Indonesia, we got what you need. Natural resources that we exploit casually. We have freedom of speech and democracy. But don't forget we have OITE.
Okay, you got it?
Yes, sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Do you like the song? Or you like the content? Well, probably you can think about that during the break, so we can discuss about it later on. But this is one of the voice of the youth. Welcome to Indonesia is a kind of parody songs that is quite viral in Instagram and in TikTok as well. So, but I found this one is in English, so I think I'd like to share it here to you because we have to listen to our young generation because one day they will become the leader. So if we have this kind of condition and this is what kind of they think at the moment, so probably we have to think about that. So during the pandemic, so if you the PPTs, can you please share the PPT or I can. It is on the 20, the slide 26, please. Yes, during the pandemic era, I believe a lot of people in the world affected by it. So in Indonesia, actually, it is recognized. This is the pandemic, and people just recognize it during the mid-March 2020. And even though it is a global pandemic and impact the livelihood, but at the beginning, people in Indonesia don't recognize it at all. So we just believe it is only a limited time, and then it will be just somewhere far away. But at the moment, it's going to affect a lot in Indonesia, but in casualty, but in the people got affected, and then we got the new variants, the local variant as well. It is on the news yesterday, I think. So the government tried to do the pandemic management. Some people say it may be too late, but what I believe the health facilities improvement is one of the most important thing, because it is not only in the Jakarta area or in the central government area, but now it also in the other area as well. In the local area can get this, probably it is just not a quick one, but anyway, there is the health facilities improvement also in the areas such as Poso and Aceh and Papua itself. And then we have like the social aid and the vaccination program that it is running right now. But anyway, the pandemic has affected human securities in many sectors. So whether we can say only the violent conflicts due to wars and due to the conflict that have a lot of fatalities, but also this kind of pandemic also creating a lot of casualties and affecting a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people and in the livelihood, not only in in very limited time, but probably in 10 or 20 years, we still have get the impacts from it. So the crisis management is actually very important here, especially in the health sectors and the public health sector especially. And then how we can involve the cultural and socio-ecological approach in the peace building, because many success stories during the pandemic. I think we can discuss it later, and you can share your experience as well in your country, how we can deal with the current situation. Is also have to be involved in the peace building. So it is not only about the wars. So we'd like to conclude our presentation here. Probably Bu Yanti, you want to conclude it?
Okay, just this one, that conflict prevention framework is now included in, we call it RPGMN. This is a middle term state development plan. So we are successfully put the conflict prevention framework to be part of something that being adopted for the middle term state development plan. And this is the conflict prevention framework becoming the reference for policy-based action of national body for disaster management. So I think we quite happy that the social conflict and the prevention for the ongoing conflict or reoccurring conflict can be managed from now on, because of this is part of the middle term state development plan. And we do hope that the ministries and some of the institution can help hand in hand, working together to help to protect women and children, especially during the conflict situation. Bu Prisca, you can continue on. My bandwidth is very low.
All right, all right.
Sorry, Bu.
All right, okay. And our second conclusion is that because many development activities shift to the COVID-19 pandemic related situation, a lot of peace building is getting lack of it. So we still have some problem with the peace building process in many areas, and but nowadays the prospect of sustainable peace is more toward the human security issues. With the human-centered paradigms, because we believe that economic, the food resilience, health, environmental, personal, community, political, education is also very important for us. And for the third one, and then in Indonesia, we believe that peace building not only address to the structural factors, the third conclusion, please, so people can see it. Yeah. Okay, but it also how we can build the infrastructure of peace building itself, and then it will be aimed to create a culture of peace. So it's using the human security approaches to lessen the impacts of the conflict. So here, the culture of peace is very important. So especially in Indonesia, where the culture is very important in our lives, and socio-ecological peace building process is also another thing that created more into wellness. I hope that Professor Alberto agree with it as environmentalist with me. So this is our end of presentation. So hopefully it is all right for everybody. So we can discuss it later, probably after we have a 10 minutes break, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Ms. Paida?
Okay, are you ready to go, Bu Prisca and Bu Yanti?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually we have finished our presentation, and then we'll come to discuss discussions and probably some question and answer.
Sure. Okay, so it's up to the participants now. This is open for questions, answers, interventions and any comments that you wish to make. And let's do it quickly because Bu Yanti is falling asleep, being in the US at the moment and having a very tiring day. So we were just talking, but I also said to Bu Yanti is that I'm so grateful for her, despite having a very hectic schedule in the US, to give us some of her very valuable time. But Bu Prisca also is extremely hectic, and her life is really hectic at the moment. But maybe it's up to Bu Prisca to tell you what it is that she has been involved in.
I think I saw somebody raise his hand.
John Fong.
Yeah.
Hi, hello. Thank you. Some of your points, can I say some of your points actually on Indonesia about politics? Can I say does it lead to a notion of Indonesia does have a strong government and weak society notion? Is Indonesia as a government that is very strong but has a weak society? Some of your points. Okay, thank you.
So strong.
Okay, I will go.
Okay, silakan Bu Yanti.
Yeah, I will going to answer because here is 11 p.m. So I feel like to go to bed soon. Thank you, John Fong. We have strong government, but we also have emergence of a strong society too, because we do have the NGO that also playing good roles in controlling what governments are doing. So basically here we do have a lot, I mean in Indonesia we do have many NGOs working for democracy, working for conflict, working for watching the corruption case, watching the parliament, what parliaments are doing. So by the existence of the NGO, I think it makes the society strong, having balance. So everything is in place. We have rule and regulation, we have laws, but sometimes in the practice, sometimes there are some deviation. But I think it's also happening in many other countries. But because of the strong society, one of the indicators of having strong society is when your country has growing NGO and groups that can speak up on people's behalf. So I think we do have that. For that's the answer for John Fong. But thank you very much for raising the question, because sometimes during the time when we have a conflict, sometimes we feel that the governments and also the military is stronger than the society, because sometimes the society doesn't have abundance enough access towards the sources of conflict, towards the sources of mitigating management and other things. That's why that what we mean in our presentation. Thank you, John Fong. Julius, you raise the hand. Yeah, please.
Yes. First of all, I would like to say thank you to both of you for your wonderful presentation. I have a question. During your presentation, you made mention of CPF, Conflicts Prevention Framework. I would like to know if this framework could be applied in other nations or it is specific to Indonesian case. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's conflict prevention framework is actually meant to be applied in Indonesia because this is part of how our friends, my friend actually, they are trying to speak up on behalf of their knowledge and on behalf of their research. That I think as part of the intellectual exercise, they have to give something to the government and contributes to the to reduce and to prevent the of the reoccurring conflicts. But this is not a full stop. So if it is fit into certain countries' background of conflict, then you can also apply that too. I think for 7 road-based conflict can also be applied somehow in certain condition in certain countries. But at the beginning, this is only to address the Indonesian situation. However, still, because this is part of how research are going and this is a living document, so you still can also adopt, for example, you are from which country?
I'm from Nigeria.
From?
Nigeria.
Nigeria. Oh, Abuja. I went to Abuja. Yes, so it's really, if for example, you see that the 7 root of conflict is fit with, for example, to solve the conflict that happening in Nigeria, in Boko Haram, for example, then you can also adopt that and then adjust with the certain condition that only happening in the conflict area that you are conducting research. In Boko Haram, in the north of Nigeria, maybe you have emergence of the multi-corporate multi-corporation involvement in that conflict, for example, or maybe you see that there are a lot of involvement of mining corporation that triggering the conflict in Boko Haram area. Maybe you have to add on the 7 root causes becoming maybe 8 or maybe lesser than 7, but it is really subject to be revised, can be adjusted with the certain condition that you are looking at. So I think that's the point that I will going to say.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nuryanti. Thank you.
You're welcome. I saw Tuba Ahmad also raise a hand.
Hi, I'm Tuba Ahmad. As you mentioned in your presentation that Indonesian government in Aceh, I think I'm pronouncing right, Aceh conflict, applying applying Sharia laws. So I have a question that in my neighboring country in Afghanistan, there is a very main issue of applying Sharia laws in that country, and rest of the world is condemning it and saying it's a brutal law and many more things. So my question is that how can we apply that type of conflict resolution in the bigger cities or in the bigger countries like Afghanistan, or like in our state, like in Pakistan, many political parties also want to approve by a Sharia law in the states. And so how can we relate to it and how can we manage it in those states? Because we are condemned, many of us condemning that laws at that point.
Okay. Okay, maybe later on Bu Prisca can add on, but I remember what Gandhi say. Gandhi mentioned that to solve the conflict, you have to sit and have a dialogue.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to sit and have a dialogue. Otherwise, you always get into a conflict because everyone will going to follow what is in their mind, without acknowledging that others may be having different view. Therefore, what Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi said that please kindly sit and have a dialogue. I think this is what we are doing in Indonesia. Though for example, in Aceh, if we are not having a dialogue, or in Poso, if we are not having a dialogue, there will be no settlement of the conflict. There will be always conflict erupt and reoccurring all the time, because everyone will going to argue that they are right and the other one is wrong. Therefore, I think what we can do is we have to sit and have a dialogue. Maybe Bu Prisca will going to add.
Yes, probably I will just add a little bit by quoting Indonesian former President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. He's a prominent peace scholar as well, and he said like every country in any situations is like creating a balance. So it's like weight scales. So if some conflict is like pushing it down, but the communities and the government have to work together, and also with other stakeholders to make the weight become more balancing. So it also this kind of this also apply to the situation, the state situation as well. It's also answering the Mr. John Fong's questions early on that. In some cases, probably we have the weakness in the government's part, but we also have the strongest of the government. But we have to create how to make advantage from different sides. So we make the country. It is not only Indonesia. It's also applied to any country in the world. How to improve the condition of the people, especially, and how to improve the peace condition, how to improve not only the local condition and also the general condition of the state by creating, like we said, using more harmonization through dialogues, through more working together, and it happens creating more sustainable peace in our conflict situation as well in Indonesia. So I think it's that what can I add to what we said. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. I have one more question, please. Can I ask?
Yes, sure.
I want to ask from Dr. Yanti that in America, you are currently living in America. We listen that dialogue. We don't see colors as a point that we are feel like black people are equal to us. We don't see the colors. That is very famous point and sentences using. It came into like they are not seeing the uniqueness of those group, because those group is unique it that self, not in the color but in their living standards and their cultural things. So that thing is creating a conflict of knowing uniqueness in America or like in the world, or it is resolving or transforming the conflict that I cannot see. I don't see the color is creating a conflict or resolving the conflict.
Well, actually, if I think when you see that the word cannot be in one uniform, then you will see that there will be other other uniform, other other color that exists, other multicultural, other differences that exist in the world. You cannot just see that the world only in one color. Therefore, to me, if when you sit, then you have to let the differences melted. You have to let the ego sectoral melted. You have to see that if you see number six will be like this, right?
9 for
But
the others.
yeah, 6 will be like this, but on the other side could be see 6 as a 9, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, by having a dialogue, you will see that maybe I see 6 as a number, but other people maybe see this number is not 6 but 9. See what I mean? So maybe I see this this number is 6, but people maybe see this number is 9. So therefore, I think by having a dialogue, you will have to let the egocentrism, how to say, stubbornness, the meanfulness melt down and see what other people are saying, see what the difference or see what the oppositions are saying about that thing. Therefore, after that, then if the other part also do the same thing, therefore, if the other part also do the same thing, there will be a dialogue. Dialogue cannot be happening if only you who do this do the effort, but the opposite of you do not do the effort. Therefore, I think we need what we call synergy, what we call cooperation, what we call humbleness to see that others are maybe different. So, yeah, I think, yeah, this one that I would like to suggest. Andrew Michelia, please.
Yes, good morning. I want to start by saying thank you and well done for the wonderful presentation to both of you. My question goes like this. I would like to know who encouraged or who developed the idea, or let's say the person who sponsored the development of this particular framework. Is it an NGO? Is it the government or an external body, let's say maybe an international body that facilitated the development of a framework like this?
In this case, I'm working as researcher of the government institution. So we are doing research, and this team also doing the same thing. They are government employee, researcher, government employee, and they got funding from government. Therefore, they advocate the result of the conflict prevention framework into the government, and they have a dialogue with the government, and at the end, the government adopt the principles that offered by the research team. Therefore, this is part of how the inside the governments also support the idea of having this framework to be inserted in the government program and to be adopted as part of how the country trying to mitigate the occurrence of the conflict. And aside of that, actually during the time when the research team is on the field they actually also encourage the NGO and the activists, also the academicians, to come over to share the thought what we should do, what we should provide to the government for the betterment of the nation. If the nations would like to mitigate the conflict, therefore we supposed to formulate carefully what aspect that we have to address, what aspect that left to be addressed. Therefore, if we can sit, we can, this work is actually done for about 1 year or more. And this is really good examples of how the government engaging many aspects of researchers, academicians, NGO activists, as well as the media to sit, to have a dialogue and to share their knowledge, to share their thought towards the betterment of the effort to mitigate the conflict. So this is actually what we can see from this effort.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Who else? Bu Prisca, you would like to ask? You would like to mention something else to add on?
Yeah, probably because in the chat box, somebody mentions well, dialogues takes a lot of times and work. Yes, it is. So especially during the long period of conflicts, and also involving many externalities. But I was reminded by the person in the Marty Atih Asari Foundation that we met during our visit to Finland. She said like this: if you haven't ready to have a dialect, it will not be happening. So when you are ready to make a dialect, like during the end of Aceh conflicts, then the dialect will be of the benefit of each party. So during the time, our lessons learned from Aceh, they are very devastating because of the natural disasters that affecting the area. So the conflictants are really tired of the conflict. They need they are very devastating. They are don't know what to do because the life they've already lost so many lives. So that is the right time to do the dialogue. So I don't say that we have to wait until we have a lot of fatalities, like in many cases, but somehow we have to get the right moment, because like post-conflict is the same. We have series of dialogues, we have series of how to take the people into the dialogue, which one of the most important thing or important people or the leaders, which one of the group leaders that we have to invite in the dialogue is also important. Because like in Papua, they also don't think that the one representing Papua during the Papuan dialogue last time, or in the Majelis Adat Papua, the traditional forum, like we said previously, is also representing all the Papuan people. So we have to be careful with the one involved in the dialogue, whether they are already representing their people or not. So somehow in the dialogues, in the mediations work is very important to do that, because I also believe that like most of country like Asia and Africa, the underdeveloped country, especially where we are very dependent on our natural resources, we can get very difficult to as Abdullah said, it's very difficult to control the externalities because in a way we are also depending on them to create our development. So what Indonesia do at the moment is we try to create our own resilience. So during this pandemic, we usually depend on India, depend on China, depend on a lot of countries for our medicines, for our health facilities. But we understand during this pandemic situation that we have to be on, stand on our own. So how we can help each other, how we can, build confidence in ourselves. So that's one of the most important thing as well. Not only in the conflict situation, but also in the crisis management. I think that's all that I want to add.
Yeah, before I give it back to the committee, I would like to say some quotation. It takes two to tango. So if you see, if people would like to dance, to have a tango dance, they need a partner. And in this case, the government needs a partner. The partner could be researchers, the partner could be NGO, the partner could be academicians or activists. Therefore, if we would like to have a tango dance, then we have to obey the rule. It takes two to tango. If we would like to have a nice tango dance, then it takes not only one person, but it takes at least 2 persons, which is partnering. Therefore, I think it's also fit. And the other one is, if not know when, if not ask who. So this is kind of a spirit, how we can spare a little bit of our time to think about something else, to think about our society, to think about the betterment of the country. Therefore, I think I really, it is being honored for me to give presentation today, tonight from me, from United States. And it is really good to see you all, though this is very short time. If you would like to contacting me, I have, I will going to write it down my email address so you can reach me out. And also I will going to put my phone number there so you can keep in touch with me. So thank you once again to the committee, to Pa Alberto, to everyone who makes this evening possible. And I do hope you stay safe wherever you are and have a very successful in your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bu Yanti and Bu Prisca. This is indeed fantastic in terms of providing some Indonesian cases. But we still have time. But I would like you to go and get your beauty sleep now, because otherwise you might just collapse from your chair. So thank you so much, Bu Yanti. But we will certainly be in touch, and I hope to see you again in Jakarta soon. Yes, and
Thank you so much. Have a good night. And I will, after this, I will leave the forum. So sorry, because almost midnight here.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you so much. And Bu Prisca, do you have to go, or can you still stay on?
No, I can still stay on if you want me.
We always want you. So,
of course.
So yeah, if you can, that would be great. So yes. Thank you so much, Bu Yanti. Selamat malam.
Selamat malam, and I put my email address and also my phone number there. This is with WhatsApp, so you can keep in touch with me. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Bu. Bye.
Okay, now I think there are several sort of questions in relation to it. Well, one, let me go back to John Fong's question about Indonesia and civil society. Although I'm not an Indonesian, but I think the Indonesian government and especially the Indonesian embassy here, they regard me as an Indonesian largely because several years ago I criticized the Australian government in its foreign policy towards Indonesia to the extent that I was even on television in Australia being interviewed on ABC and criticizing the Australian government openly for its what I call megaphone diplomacy as far as Indonesia was concerned. And ever since then, the Indonesian government, the embassy here have invited me for almost all the various functions and so I indirectly what I'm trying to say is that I don't want to claim to be Indonesian, but there are certain things over the years that I have realized about Indonesia. And the thing is this, John, that during the Suharto regime, yes, of course, there was an iron law rule in Indonesia. He used the might of the TNI, the Indonesian army, to stifle any form of protest against the government. But after the fall of Suharto, and you have also got to remember that Suharto fell largely because of the Indonesians rising. They took to the streets, they demonstrated, and eventually that government fell. And you can see a case where you can try to repress the people as much as you can. And the Indonesians have been repressed ever since the whole, how many years? Mas Ari, 32 years, isn't it, of Suharto regime?
Around, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And so you can just imagine that all this period of repression and oppression of the people, and eventually they kicked him out. Okay, they rose, they took to the streets, and we find that the flourishing of Indonesian society after the fall of Suharto, and this is something that I observed and witnessed, and especially when you had people like Gasdo becoming the president, and then you have the whole people who have been very progressive as presidents. And today, we have Jokowi, although quite a number of people will be critical of him, but yet there is that kind of progressive government in Indonesia. But there is also a vibrant civil society. And one thing that we also have to realize in the Indonesian context is there are several very large Islamic movements. So we had the Muhammadiyah movement, which is this university is part of that movement. But we also have the Nahdlatul Ulama, the NU, which is the largest Islamic organization. And these two Islamic movements, they are very different from the kinds of Islamic movements that perhaps exist in other parts of the world. The NU, for example, they're very accepting of religious difference. And this is one of the differences that I have experienced myself. When I'm in Indonesia, they don't ever ask me about my religious position. And furthermore, you will find that, like, if you don't mind me saying this, Prisca is Catholic, right? Yep. Christian. Yeah, Catholic. So and you will not realize this when you go to Indonesia. So no one actually will ask me what my religious background is. And the other thing too is there is tremendous respect for each other's religion. Let me give you just one example. And I was we had a dialogue, a function in Indonesia, and then after it was very hot, and after the dialogue, I turned to Michalis and I said, "Gosh, I need to go and have a beer." And we were in Yogyakarta. So Michalis said to me, "Why don't you go and why don't you get me some beer as well?" So I walked down the street, walked up the street, went to all the places, and I couldn't find any beer. So I went back to Michalis and I said to him, "Sorry," we were all sitting in the lobby. I said, "Sorry, I couldn't find any beer." And then Mak Fina, who is a very devout Muslim, Sunni Muslim, who is also a leader of the Pesantren, and she asked. In the meantime, she asked Michalis, where did where did Pa Alberta go? And Michalis didn't want to say where I went because he thought that it is quite rude to say that I've gone to buy beer. But then she kept asking, and then he said, "No, he has just gone for a walk." And then later on, she kept asking, "Why didn't he ask any one of us to come to go along to accompany him?" And then finally, Michalis said, "Yes, he has gone to look for beer." So when I came back, Mark Pina asked me, "So did you get your beer?" And I said, "No." I said, "How did you know I was going to go and get beer?" So she said, "Yeah, Michalis told me." So I said, "No, I did not get the beer. I went looking for it." And then she said to me, "Okay, I'll go and get the beer for you." And I looked at her and I said, "No, this is against your religion. How can you do that?" And I said, "No, I don't want you to commit sin to do this." And then she turns to me and she said, "I'm not the one drinking, you are drinking. So if you want to sin, that's your business." And so she said this, and she said, "It doesn't matter because in your religion, whatever your religion is, you can drink beer. It's not a sin." And then I pointed out to her that in Malaysia, it was a very different situation because when I was an advisor for the University of Malaya, my colleagues were aghast that I was going to go to the pub for a drink. And someone, in fact, commented to me, "How could you drink, any air Satan? How could you drink the satanic drink? And this is terrible." And, they ridicule me for, for drinking. This so-called big-time professor, but, he has got this, he goes and sins and drinks. So the imposition of their religious values on a person like me. But in Indonesia, it's a different thing. So it's not to do with tolerance, it's to do with acceptance. Because tolerance is here where you feel that, okay, this person does this, I'll just tolerate it. But it is really a situation of acceptance. It is what, in fact, they believe that this is your value, your culture, and as long as you're a good person, you don't have to abide by, our principles. So that's fundamental thing that I learned about Indonesian society that keeps me, wanting to go back to, to Indonesia. But then I also realized a few things, and sorry, I'm talking a lot, Bu Prisca, may I have your permission? Okay, way back in 1954, I think some of you would know this, but 1954, you have this theory by Gordon Allport, who is a psychologist. In his theory, which is, he came up with what was called the scale of prejudice. And this is something perhaps, all of you can start thinking of. And the scale of prejudice always begins with antilocution. Antilocution occurs when in a group freely it purports negative images of the out-group. So you have your own group, but you have these negative images of others. And then hate speech is it's an anti-locution. You talk bad, ill about this other group. And this is one of the things I find about Indonesians. This idea of hate speech. Of course, there are people that engage in that, but generally you will not find someone coming and expressing that kind of sense of hate speech again. And then you have And even when you had that case of Ahok, is it, in Jakarta, when several of the fundamentalists, Ahok, yeah, when several of the fundamentalist Muslim groups in Jakarta criticized, they didn't want a non-Muslim, or I can't remember the details, but you can read up about the details. And the people who were upset were many of my very devout Muslim friends. So my very close friend, Pak Purwo, who is a leader, one of the leaders of the NU, he turns to me and he said, and he was with me in Indonesia at the time. And when he came to that news, he said, how can they do this? We must accept all different groups of people. Then avoidance is the second stage. In avoidance, members of the in-group actively avoid people in the out-group. And so we find this is the next stage. So we avoid. We feel that, we only want to hang out with our own group, okay? If I'm a Malay, I only want to hang out with Malays. If I'm Chinese, I only want to hang out with Chinese. And then you have this kind of avoidance, and this happens. Then the third stage is discrimination. Okay, you discriminate someone on the basis of that person's race or the basis of the person's status, and then you have, in the US, you have the Jim Crow laws, the US, and South Africa, you have the apartheid, and so you have all these different cases of discrimination. Then you go to the next stage of physical attack. And this is where, the one group will vandalize, burn, and destroy the out group. And we see a lot of cases of physical attack going around in different parts of the world, whether it's in India, in the US, in any part of the world, we see this happening. And the final stage that Alport in 1954 wrote about is extermination. This is genocide, where you have the Cambodian genocide, we have Rwanda, all these different cases, and the most, the Armenian, we have the genocide in, for example, Holocaust. All these are forms of extermination. The point that Alport is making is it starts with anti-locution. It starts with the hate speech. It begins with when we say ill things about someone that does not belong to our group. So, and I think in the Indonesian case, if I can say this from my own observation, is that they are fully aware of those stages. So yes, in the past, they have gone to the stage of killing people, whether it's in East Timor or whether in Papua. But now you can see that they have learned that you always start off, when you start to speak ill, hate speech, talk bad about someone else, then you begin to discriminate. It leads to the stage of extermination. So I think there are lessons we can learn from the Indonesians, a lot of lessons, and in case, we in our own societies, if we begin to repeat what has happened historically in so many different parts of the world, then, we will reach a stage where the violence and extermination and the killing and the genocide and if you look at all the genocides that happened, the reason that they have committed those acts of violence is largely to do with the fact that they have dehumanized the people that they are violent against. And this is where I think we have to learn. I think Indonesians have learned the hard lessons of violence, and many Indonesians are very, sorry to say this, but what do you say, Bu Prisca?
Well, I say that you're very lucky.
Sorry?
You are very lucky. So you don't face any discrimination, you don't face any intolerance here, and then you don't face any, marginalizations. But that's the reasons why I share that TikTok songs or just a script just now during the presentations that we face, there are some of intolerance. We have some
Oh yes, of course.
Yes, yes, and sadly, if I may say, people tend, if you say avoidance of this thing, this is avoidance to recognizing that. So if you see somebody get bullying due to the Sarah thing, they said, oh, there's nothing happened with that. So this kind of awareness that we have to raise in the young generation. I mean, because sometimes they, when it started just like a joke, like the cases in Poso or in Ambon, it starts with a joke, from different community youth group, for example. But it, due to the power of social media, it can, getting bigger into a bigger conflict, and then because people tend to say something else, not the truth. So in Indonesia probably tends, well, it is news if you can, get the fact and then you add up some things. So sometimes the adding up is not, not the peaceful thing. So it's adding up to another thing. So like, for example, like Ahok cases, for example, it is start with, this is some of the violation of other people's right, other people believe, they say that. But sometimes people only tend to read only the headline, not what actually Ahok said. So I believe as Indonesian, I also share with my students, my colleagues as well, and then try to get the truth underneath. Probably because what you see is not what really is. So sometimes people tend to see it as the truth because their confidence said it is the truth. So that kind of things is happen because in community loaded like Indonesia, where people tends to belong to certain community. Sometimes when the leader of the community said, or somebody to belong there said something, and if you don't agree, you are disregarding for this kind of inner circle. So as you said that, well, I think a lot about the avoidance because what we need in Indonesia, not the avoidance, we need to recognizing actually what we have here, what are in our environment, what we have, what we, because probably if we recognizing each other, it can get more dialogues to each other. To if you know the community in other places as well, it's like this is very good because we can actually, this is a peace building process because we have a lot of people from many different places in the world, right? But somehow, if you, well, this is lucky because I got my internet connection is working quite well. But yeah, this is true because during the, a few months ago, I have to do the advocacy to people in Sulawesi, and then the connection is very bad for them. And they said to me, Ibu, I have already run up hills, and then you still cannot hear me. So he actually angry with me, and then what are you trying to do to me? So it's a kind of conflict itself because the communication is not working very well, But this kind of thing, actually, in Indonesia, we have like, probably Pak Ari know better about the Merdeka Belajar. This is also a kind of the Merdeka Belajar where we can have a freedom to learn. So we can learn from each other, listen to each other, probably know about what other people experience. And I think it's very important to build up this.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the clips that I sent you, it said that it is a critic for the government for they're getting late to respond to the pandemic situation. So the terminology of herd stupidity instead of
Ya Allah, makasih banyak ya Pak.
immunities is quite quite famous now in Indonesia. So we want to also think us as a stupid community in Indonesia. I guess not. So it's I think that kind of TikTok is quite good. This is for the reminder because probably quite the same because the person to do that, I think Chacha or I think the girl's name is got bullied because why you do this? Because you create a bad impression about Indonesia because you let people know that Indonesia is not that good. as Pak Alberto mentioned, Indonesia is, you know, very flourishing. We still have some condition that we have to address in the probably in small community, but somehow the small community can talk loudly. So it is quite you know quite a challenge for Indonesia to still got, you know, very unity, very, you know, maintain the multiculturalism, maintain the, you know, the richness of the culture. But I believe as Indonesia, like we have our slogan, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, differences but all united together. But I think we have a quite good chance to do. I still believe that we have a good chance to do it, especially because we have one language, yeah. Because many people don't have national language. Indonesia is very lucky because we have the national language, so we can understand each other better, even if we go to the local areas and very far away from the town. Yeah.
But Rasa Sayang is Malaysian and not Indonesian.
We still have the bets on it, right?
Prof, can I add something,
Yeah,
Prof?
sure, please.
If you mind. I know that.
It is your session.
So I know, despite these all stories, yeah, what I found out myself, you know, especially this pandemic, Bu, instead of relying on the government with this all political issues, economic issues, there are initiative on the ground.
That's right.
In which it ties all of us, NU, Muhammadiyah, and all the religion. Yeah, I can show one of the picture that always makes me feel, you know, positive about this all the things. I can show you a bit, yeah, but you know, no, I think I cannot share anything because I'm not the co-host. But
yeah, we are waiting for somebody to make Pak Ari. Oh, Pak Ari, you are already co-host.
Okay. So I'll show you a bit, Prof. So you know that during this pandemic, there are many, you know, people die, yeah. And then it has to be quickly, you know, in Muslim tradition, we send the dead body to the funeral, right? So these pictures tell a story about some of Muhammadiyah volunteers group helping to bury some of the not Muslim, and this you can see in here, you know, it's very rare for me to say this, but this pandemic shows something, that we are working together, we are in the same situation, and then, you know, we forget about this differences. No, it's you know, we need to work together. No, it's just one story where, like, you know, a Muslim supports the non-Muslim to, you know, to bury some of the, you know, the COVID victims, right? And then it becomes like, you know, there are quite numbers of story on this. So I feel much positive. You know, there are instead of focusing on this, because this is one issue of COVID. Another thing is about those who are, you know, they lock down in their house because you know, the hospital basically is already full with patients. So we are trying to connect each other, you know, with a good number of groups of religious groups in Indonesia to support each other. So I feel like, you know, it's one type of, you know, positive things about, you know, this pandemic. From it tied us together. We are in the same situation. We need to support each other. We need to, like, you know, because of the oxygen limit of oxygen, we need to share information, to share where we can get this. Yeah. So that is the things about this, the positive things, positive side of this pandemic, what I've learned from. And then, you know, hopefully this, you know, this will also help us to address COVID, yeah, to cope with this COVID pandemic.
I agree.
That's definitely one thing from
Yeah, working together is a good thing. I agree with Pak Ari. And also here, Anas in the chat room mentioned about the belonging to the community. Well, during the pandemic situations, some of the lesson learned we have in Indonesia is that like if the people belong to a certain community, we can get more resilience there. Like in Jogja, for example, we have Jogo Tonggo, is take care of your neighbor, and yeah. So I know, so it's true. I don't make it up. Yeah, we have to take care of the neighbor, and then some local areas also have similar kind of things. Not also in Jogja, but also in Bali, and then also in the Lu is in the central Sulawesi as well. And then when this kind of area have this very solid community, they can protect the people in it. It is different if we don't feel like belonging to a certain kind of community that we have to protect each other. Yes, it's true that we have belong to the universal community where the humanity is the core. But during the social practices, we have to, well, if you belong to the community, you can get more resilience in it, because like in Indonesia, we have actually have many islands, right? At the beginning of the pandemic, we think that because we have many islands, it is very easy to, to contain an area so they don't get infected from from the COVID diseases from the outsiders. But actually, at the practice level, we cannot do that because that's my family coming home. That's the our best friend coming home. So we are good as Indonesian people because we are open society. But during this pandemic situation, we have to learn something else. We have to protect each other. So I think it is the biggest lesson learned in Indonesia during this pandemic. Not only protect each other, but we have to take care of each other. Whether the neighbor during their isolation have their enough food, enough medicine, because sometimes when people a lot of people sick together, and then it's very difficult to get to get the medicine, to get the oxygen, like the Pari said just now. So, well,
Yes,
I have a question for the other people.
Yeah, I was going to say that I totally agree with you about the importance of care and compassion, and this is something that is in fact intrinsic in all religions, and also one can see this in the case of Islam. But the other thing about which I learned from Mark Pina when I told you the story of the beer, is that when I said to her, why are you doing this? And it's un-Islamic. And her reply was that, no, it is Islamic. And I asked her to explain. And she said, because in Islam, an important aspect of Islam is hospitality, that we must always be hospitable to our guests. So you have come here, you are our guests, and we have to ensure that we are hospitable to you. And that it feels, for her, it's an important principle aspect of Islam. So in all religions, we have those kinds of fundamental, you know, uh, you know, fundamental aspects that helps us to be good humans. I mean, I'm not a religious person, so I would be probably the last person to speak about these religious values. But one thing I can say is that it is the interpretation that goes wrong. Yeah? And when we have various religious leaders that will make very narrow interpretations of their religions. And of course, a lot of these interpretations are also wrong. They go against the fundamental aspects of those religions. And that's where many of those problems emerge. And we have to always think in terms of how are we going to provide. So we need Julius. We need leaders like you. To go make the change in this world by, and not just you. We need Ayats, and we need all, Lillian and Deeting and Afifa and Rafia, all of you, Ayla, Saddam. So we have to try to step, and John, of course, John Fong. You have to step out of your own kind of own sort of cultures or your own sorts of world, and begin to embrace, a worldliness that is much more universal. Bu Prisca?
Yeah, it's quite funny when people try to segregate into in-group and out-group. The things I hear is always there. Yeah. In my experience, is because in my big family, we are consists of different religions, different ethnicity groups. So it's for us this is quite common if we speak during our family conversation in several different local languages. But probably for other people is why don't you speak up of your identity? I said, what is my identity? This is the identity, because we are already belong to many kind of groups, and as well as the religion, because in my family, for example, my grandfather is a Muslim. So for us, there is nothing wrong if we, just reminding somebody, hey, this is the prayer time, so go and do your prayer and something like that, and do your fasting on things like that. So for us, it's quite common. But I think a few weeks ago, I even somebody asked me something like this: Prisca, what is your religion? So anything wrong? I said, is that something wrong that I do? And then he said, I have to make sure what your religion is, so I can give you, selamat during the Hari Raya. He said, oh, you can give me selamat any days because I celebrate every day. So probably, as you said, interpretation here is very important, but how we interpret sometimes is depend. I agree with the discussions in the chat books. It is depends on our upbringing, our education, probably our like this dialects with other people. If you know people from different situation, different background, I think it's enriching more rather than letting you become like in group of something group, if I may say. Yes. So we still have like homework if I said it during our further education of our young, because I don't know, in many occasions I find out that forcing interpretation is one our problem in Indonesia. We tend to teach the kids, the children's the certain beliefs. So at the end they are not open to, it's very difficult to make open up their mind. So I find that in my students as well at the university, because in art school probably is difference between the the more formal school. In art school you have to things freely, and then how you can accept everybody as they are. So whatever they believe, whatever they think, whatever. But despite of it, you have to formulate your own ideas. So the braveness to do that, I think, is very important for the young people in Indonesia. Also in other countries as well, because otherwise, how we can make a betterness of the world if there is no innovation, there is no thing to make it better. That's what I think as a in this peace building session. I don't know. Probably Pak Ari have a different idea because he's the head of the school as well, right?
I'm totally agree with you, Bu. Yeah.
Any other points of view? Do speak out.
probably somebody else from the other country probably have the, you know, the experiences. I'd love to hear about that too.
Anyone? Anyone would like to say something? Yeah. Rafia?
Indonesia, thank you, Enas. I love Indonesia too.
Sorry?
Enas said in the chat box, I love Indonesia. Yes, I love Indonesia. Despite of everything, I love Indonesia. And we just win, you know, we just win the Olympic medal. It's very viral now.
Yes, I mean, I think Inas has heard a lot about Indonesia from me, so that's why, possibly. Yes, Inas?
Christina
Anyway.
said here about, oh yeah, about the Indonesian fabrics and fashions. Yes, actually, you know about the woven ikat for the fabrics. Yes. In our culture, in Indonesian culture, because we have a lot of you know, woven fabrics in many areas in Indonesia, but philosophically it is all the same, because during the ikat, during the woven thingy, we actually fabricated, you know, its strand. So it's not just a fabric as a fabric, but it's symbolizing, you know, the differences. Its motif usually have some kind of representation, but usually it's symbolize the togetherness, you know, probably the family relationship or the general relationship with other people. So how they can, you know, the colors also representing, you know, the environment within it, what they have there, what kind of, you know, plantation probably of the animals around there. So all the woven fabric in Indonesia have that kind of symbols that if you like to Indonesian fabrics, well, please see also different philosophy behind it. Like, for example, batik, you know, the batik, Malaysia also have batik, and we are also the same. The batik people, we are taught when we are doing the batik, you know, the traditional way. We are talking about patience. We are talking about you know, when you are making batik, you are not doing it by yourself. You have got support from your community, from the, you know, from the how to make the colors, the traditional colorings, how to, you know, boil the fabric, and then and how to you know, the gather the linen, the kind of stuff that we make into the fabrics to make it the color more solid. So the philosophy behind it is also very rich. So well, if sorry, I lost the name now. Christina, is it? If you
Christina, yes, Christina is over there. Yes.
Christina, if you laugh about the fabric, you can learn about what kind of philosophy behind it. But I do love especially the woven fabric. Our woven fabric is yeah, it's symbolizes the peace as well, because when you wear it, you know the philosophy behind it, and then you you can, you know, you can more making it into a treasury stuff, because I have some collection of it myself, because I love, especially because the all fabric is from the natural kapas. What is the kapas? The natural materials. So it is a very friendly to the nature. So you can keep it if you want to leave it later for the, you know, for your children, grandchildren, and so on. Yeah. So it is very interesting though.
Do you want to say something, Dating?
Christina.
Oh, Christina, you wanted to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, just very quickly, Professor Prisca, I realized the importance of fashion in Indonesia, here in Malaysia, in Penang, when I saw these brilliant fabrics, and I didn't know anything about it, but obviously they do speak a language. And sometimes we don't need to have a dialogue, but just by observing, and it was just, I love art, so I was very impressed with these fabrics, and obviously the lady of the shop, in the end I had to buy it, and I do have the dress, or I don't know, they told me it's typical Indonesian, but the textiles are very soft, the colors are extremely elegant, and the design, I've never seen anything like it. I'm glad to know that also peaceful, so maybe I should, I think I'm going to wear it, and perhaps you can tell us what it means. But I think also through the arts, we all know we speak the language of peace. But what I wanted to say is that fashion in Indonesia is not known to the rest of the world, and it's a shame. I think when I have time, I'll have to do something about that, because it's amazing. The whole world needs to know. This fashion speaks, like you say now, peace. And the designs are gorgeous. It's not just any ordinary designs. It would be wonderful to do a project like that. And I'm glad we talk about peace. Perhaps if you wouldn't mind to share something about some authors about the fashion on peace, fashion in Indonesia, because that would be good for us as well.
Yeah, all right. Because it is quite funny when we're talking about the arts, right? In Indonesia, we don't have any peace dance. We have, you know, the youth dance. Yes, we have. We have relationship dance. Yes, we have. But in every ethnic, we have war dance actually. So people say, well, you are not a peaceful country because you have war dances. In everywhere you can go in Indonesia, you can get these war dances. You know, even in Maluku, in Ambon, in Papua, you have all the war dance. Even in Bali, when people said it is one of the most peaceful place in the world, we have war dance. We have baris dance. It's actually a war dance. But actually, for the ikat, I believe that it is our peace representing there. Because in ikat woven fabric, it is where the peaceful communities can there. So in every ethnic group, in every area, you can have representing of some motifs, some kind of colors that all representing peace, representing this is the good relationship that we have. Just like you cannot do everything just by yourself individually, but you have to make it into group, make it into the community, and then you can make it more, universal. As you say, probably, well, actually, Indonesian fabric is quite, I don't know, it may be not that well known, but it is used in Versace in the last their last exhibition, because the motif of my family in Bali use it for the very beautiful garment. I can share you later on if you want it. Yeah.
From an anthropological point of view, I want to provide you with this issue that is often discussed about war dances. So you have many in so-called tribal communities where they perform these war dances, but the war dance actually replaces in many ways the actual war. So they perform this, it's the performance. So they perform this and no one actually gets killed. So you have this kind of performance to show. So aggression is just performative. It is not real. And so you have, in many cases, you have For example, the famous is the Maori haka. You know, if you watch rugby, you will see the haka at the start. Now, the Maori are probably one of the most peaceful peoples in the world, but there are times where you have had them engage in those kinds of, violent activity. So anthropologically speaking, for example, we often see how, groups of people have been characterized or featured or represented in this kind of way, the tropes that are used. So we think of Native Americans and we think, wow, these people are, bows and arrows and they are, represented in that way. But no, they are not, because it was actually the Europeans, when they came, introduced guns to them, introduced the horse, and then introduced various kinds of things that they fought for, like blankets and other sorts of, So the violence was actually introduced and the war was introduced. So war was not very much a part of their life, but then it became very much part of their performances. So that's from, I'm not making it up. I'm not being overly romanticist about this, but yeah, when you find so-called, anthropologists refer to as primitive warfare, they put inverted commas around primitive. Now, in those primitive warfare, all you find is that a group of warriors on one side fighting another group of warriors, moving with their spears and actually not spearing anyone. So when you look at modern warfare, okay, modern the kind of so-called modern warfare, we find that in, let's say, in the First World War, lots of soldiers got killed. But the thing you have to keep in mind here is that the ones who are actually doing the killing, they are pathological. They suffer, mental problems, because for a human to kill another human, that person is, the mirror neurons, the empathy, which is, an innate capacity of humans, have been blocked. And that's why soldiers are being trained. They are being trained to kill. It's a normal thing for soldiers not to kill anyone. So you find that in many of those battles, that there is a lot of bullets being fired, but very few people actually getting killed, because soldiers will aim at an enemy and try to miss, so not to kill. And so you find that ultimately, there is a certain trigger. You say, I'm using all these militaristic terms, but there is a certain stimulation that happens where the person looks at the other, the so-called enemy. So why do they kill? And the reason they kill is because the enemy no longer has faces. They begin to be seen not as humans, but they are seen as the ones that do the killing. They have dehumanized the enemy, and they refer them to different kinds of animals, for example. And so that's why that happens. I won't bore you with details, but I used to give a whole lecture on headhunting and explain to students, and I would say to them at the end that headhunting is an act of friendship, because what the headhunter is actually trying to do is take your head, take it back, but treat the head very friendly, in a friendly manner, because for them their cosmology is limited to the extent that a person that does not exist as part of the known world is considered to be outside that known world. And so it is in Iban, for example, they use the word orang bukai, which in Iban means person, orang, and bukai, not person. So it's a person negated. And that's why, they take the heads from the orang bukai. So they are people who are not people. And that's, so I won't go into the details, but I gave a whole 2-hour lecture on headhunting, but at the end of the lecture, I asked the students to compare the headhunter and his so-called barbaric act with the way how our modern warfare, so-called modern warfare, is carried out, where a few people just press a few buttons here and there and wipe out thousands of people just by, and they would say things like clinical strikes, that they did not do anything. It was the bombs that did it, as if like the people were. And even when they dropped the atomic bomb, the person that flew the plane had even the cheek to sign it, and to the Japs. And those are the kinds of dehumanizing acts that certain groups of people have done. Yes. Okay.
Actually, in Indonesia, many war dances has become, transformed into, welcoming dance.
Yes,
so
indeed.
You don't realize that, and it is a fact that, for example, like in Maluku, Cakalele, the war dance actually, it has become the peace dance. So now they celebrating their peace with that. Also in Papua, after they make peace, after the tribal fights or things similar with that, they also celebrate it with the warden actually, but now become the peace dance. So yeah, peace transformation is sometimes is very funny indeed.
Yeah. Anyone dating? You were going to say something?
I think I just want to share that, like, I'm just getting to know about different religions since I don't have any religions. And like before joining this course, I was kind of holding a lot of stereotypical ideas about, this group and those group. But after the whole flow, I was kind of, we can just getting along with each other. It doesn't matter where you've come from, which countries you come from, which religions you believe, and it's just about human beings. So just be friends and be human. And that's what I learned from this course. And I'm really grateful for this.
That's right. I think it's a perfect way to end today's afternoon session. Today's morning session. It's afternoon for me. So if you don't have anything else to say, Mas Ari?
Yes, Prof.
Do you have anything to say, or we can finish the session?
We can see. I think we can finish the session. Yeah.
Okay.
May I say something considering violence and people with mental health disorder? I just posted because usually when there is an act of violence, they try to relate it to like mental disorders, because as you said, Alberto, Pac Alberto.
That's okay.
Mas Alberto, because I'm not very young. Mas Alberto would be better for me.
But I'm much older than you are.
No, you don't know. I'm turning 49 in October, very soon. So I don't think.
So how old do you think I am?
I don't know. Maybe 50, or I don't know. Age is just a number. Don't worry. You have the heart of a 25-year-old man.
Well, let me give you a hint. The year that Alport came up with the Scale of Prejudice, it's the same year it was the same year that I was born.
I don't know. I don't care. Like it's okay. I'm gonna maybe 10 years older than me. I don't think so.
Try more.
A little bit more.
Close
more
to
or less.
10. You said you're 47, is it? Is that right?
49.
49. So almost 20 years older than you.
Oh, you don't look at all like oh, yeah, that's good. But as I told you, you have the spirit and the heart of a 25-year-old person. should be happy, huh? You can start
But
laughing.
no, yeah, no, yes. The problem is sometimes the heart of a 25-year-old can get me into real trouble.
Ah, yes, yes, you might be wanted by many people. Still,
No, I mean more in terms of thinking that I can still run very fast and realize that it's not going to be good for my heart.
yeah, that's why for me, I'm very happy every time to announce my birthday and my age. Always, I say it clearly. Although this is not a female thing, they always cover their their age. But for me, I think like getting older is getting wiser, getting more peaceful, getting, I don't know. For me, age is just a process. Like and to acquire more experience. So older means more experienced, more competent, more wiser, all of that. It doesn't mean like getting old and wrinkles and all of that. That's why I don't agree on all plastic surgeries and all of that. I like my wrinkles. It shows that when you smile, you have wrinkles. If you have Botox, then everything would be vanished here. You will lose all your facial expressions. You don't know when you're sad, when you're happy, when you're okay, when you're disagreeing with something. So facial expression is very important. We don't have to uncover what we do naturally have, like, because as we all agree on is that peace starts within ourselves. So we have to keep every natural things that our creator had created in us, because I don't think someone else on earth is much clever or mm, has the uh, uh, I don't know, the power to like make people as we are. This is me, this is you, and this is everyone. Okay, well, maybe we can work on some modifications. As if we have overweight, maybe it will affect our health, then we have to start exercising. Those are simple modification, not introducing artificial things to our beautiful body. Okay, back to this thing in mental health. I just posted something from Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a great philosopher. It's in French. I don't know if someone speaks French. It says, l'homme né bon par nature, c'est la société qui le corrompt. It is like human beings, they are born good, good people. This is the society that corrupt them. Okay, so people, the aggressors or the violent people, whether they were forced to learn this, like in military, yes, they are obliged. In one of the courses on sexual violence, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, one of the ex-military in one of the like illegal military groups, he said, he was confessing in one documentary that they were obliged to rape women. They were obliged to rape women by their commander. And after doing this, they were asked to bring the best one. How how they can choose the best woman to bring to the commander to rape, you know? So maybe they would, he was saying that they used to rape 10 at a time. 10 people would be raping the same woman at a time, and they don't care about if she was still alive or not. just this, they use women as a weapon of war, just to humiliate the enemy, like to conquer the enemy. So those people are not mentally ill, are they? This is the commander who made them violent. So I wanted to emphasize on this because we see on the news like many acts of violence, domestic violence. Oh, they related like he had mental issue. This is to minimize the sanction for them. They are not, because as you said, like you don't believe that a human being would do such an act. I don't believe neither, but they can be influenced by the people around them. So it's like brainwashing. It's not like they are not mentally ill at all. Even people with mental disorders, they have a very, very, very nice and bright side in their brain and their mentality. They would make people really happy around them. When like, because trying to work with people like with mental health issue. I had one from Uganda. He tried to commit suicide because he had a false belief, a negative belief that if he jumps from the third floor, God would help him in doing this. He was affected by narcotics and drugs, and he used and alcohol. He was a big consumer of this. So this influenced his brain to make him believe in things extraterrestrial, like that does don't exist. So it is the same when someone would make people, would ask them, go and you will get a reward after you kill 100 people or violate women and all of that. So this is the thing. But we human are like, we were God brought us to life. So it means no one would be born bad. So we are all good, as you just said, and it is really hard for us to believe that someone would kill, someone would commit violence or something like that. Yeah, but this
Yeah,
doesn't mean that.
I fully agree with you, Lillian, but it's perhaps I should have made myself clearer. I don't mean mental illness, but I mean the blocking of the mirror neurons, which is to do with certain kind of it's yeah, it is like a disorder, but it's not an illness. It's not like
Yeah,
what you're
it's
talking about.
dysfunctional. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
and
behavioral
it's
dysfunctional.
exactly,
Yeah,
and it's to do with with this factor being conditioning. You know, it's a
exactly.
form of conditioning. So you have to condition the person to kill. So if I, for example, uh, I can't even kill a mosquito now, and because in the past, and even though the mosquito nearly killed me, because when I had very severe malaria, I nearly
Yeah.
died. I was very close to dying of cerebral malaria. And the fact is that, but now when I see a mosquito, I just sort of shoo it away, and I think that and even insects that come into my home, I just trap them and take them out and release them. So this is a kind of where I've conditioned myself not to kill, and that's why I belong to the Center for Global Non-Killing. And
Yeah, exactly. I do the same. And
so
I would, yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
I would,
it's a contradiction of one's life. For example, culturally, being Goan, I love to eat fish. Socially, I'm obsessed with fish. So I've got 2 fish ponds in my backyard with lots of fish, and I might come across as being really crazy, but my fish also have names, and people ask me whether I talk to them. But I go and they recognize me. So I have that connection with the fish. But then I also go fishing with my friends. We go surf fishing. But when I go surf fishing, I catch a fish. I cannot kill the fish. I just walk away. I just bring it to the shore and I walk away, and my friends are the ones that do the killing. And this is the paradox of life, you know. I love to eat fish. I have fish as pets, and I can't kill fish. So
yeah, it happens.
We all have.
I would tell you that mosquito that was going to kill you, like why you didn't kill it, for example. There are millions of mosquitoes. This reminds me of one Syrian guy. He used to work in Lebanon. And when the war started in Syria, I thought like the number of casualties and deaths, or the death toll was increasing. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so sorry. Like too many people are killed now, like 1,000. You know what he told me? He said, don't worry, we are too many. They are like, I don't know how many million. And I was like, what? You're Syrian and you said that? You see, because they are under a oppressive regime, and they were okay if 1,000, 10,000 would die. It's okay. We are too many.
So I should clarify that it's not the mosquito that tried to kill me, because the mosquito was just carrying the Plasmodium.
Malaria, yeah.
It was carrying Plasmodium falciparum. Yeah. So after I got very sick with malaria, I became an expert on malaria. I did a lot of reading up on malaria. I used to give lectures on it, and it's largely to do with the fact that it was a falciparum, Plasmodium falciparum, which is a parasite that nearly killed me. And on that note, I think we should end, because I think Mas Ari is getting anxious.
We still have 4 minutes for the legal stuff.
Really,
but it's okay. No.
I saw Abdullahi raise his hand. I'm not sure if he already expressed.
Who?
Abdullahi Ali.
Yeah, Abdullah, if you want to. Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
Okay, all of you okay? Shall we take our break now? Only Ayat wants a break.
Okay. We all do. It's a breakfast time.
Oh, breakfast. All right. So on this note, terima kasih banyak, Bu Prisca. You have been absolutely, fantastic, and I really look forward to the lifting of the travel ban, so that I can come and say hello to all of you in Jakarta and Yogyakarta.
We can have a beer at all.
Can I join?
Yes, sir.
No, you cannot. We don't want you to. We don't want you to break any.
No, we have 0% beer here in Indonesia, so everybody can join.
Halal vino, they said.
Yeah, the 0% alcohol.
Yes, vino tinto.
Yeah, cerveza.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, see you at what time? 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
2 p.m.
Yeah.
And,
1 hour and a half from now.
That's right. And you'll meet my German beer drinking partner. I'm just kidding. I won't introduce Alexander that way, but you take care.
Say Prost in Germany for
That's
cheers.
Right.
Prost.
Yeah, I know. Prost, yes. But yeah, I mean, it's just I should probably also say the problem I have is that I like to tell jokes, and sometimes a lot of my jokes get me into problems.
No worries.
Okay, so take care. See you shortly.
Yes.
And
Thank
once
you,
again,
everybody.
terima kasih,
Terima kasih.
Prisca.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. It is a wonderful time.
Thank you, Bu.
Yeah, take care and stay healthy. Don't get sick. Still safe.
Good.
And peace together.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, see you sometimes.
Okay, see you.